Imagine this for a moment. You're sitting in a coffee shop somewhere in Chicago, or maybe London, or Berlin. At the table next to you, two professionals are talking about work. One of them casually mentions he just got promoted. His salary just crossed $110,000 a year. The other congratulates him. They talk about upgrading apartments, maybe leasing a new SUV, taking a nicer vacation this summer. From the outside, it sounds like success. And by most social standards, it is. But here's a strange reality that rarely gets discussed. Many people earning $80,000, $100,000, even $150,000 per year are quietly living paycheck to paycheck. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they lack discipline, but because they've made a psychological mistake that modern financial systems quietly encourage. A mistake that keeps income rising while wealth stays almost completely flat. Let's look at a very typical situation. Imagine a 30-year-old professional named Alex. Alex lives in Denver. He works in tech support and earns about $92,000 per year. To most people, that sounds like a comfortable salary. But income before taxes and income after taxes are very different things. After federal taxes, state taxes, Social Security contributions, and healthcare deductions, Alex takes home about $5,200 per month. Now let's slowly walk through where that money actually goes. His apartment costs $2,050 per month. Nothing luxurious, just a modern one-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Car payment, $520. Car insurance, $160. Student loan payment, $380. Utilities and internet, $240. Groceries, around $450. Already, about $3,800 is gone. But life doesn't stop there. There are small expenses that feel normal. Coffee shops, streaming subscriptions, occasional dinners out, weekend trips, clothes, gym membership, phone bill. Those easily add another $900 to $1,000 per month. And suddenly, something interesting happens. Alex earns over $90,000 per year, but by the end of the month, he has maybe $200 or $300 left, some months even less. Now pause for a second. This isn't financial irresponsibility. This is simply what modern middle-class life looks like in many Western cities. Housing costs are high. Transportation is expensive, student loans are common, and lifestyle expectations slowly rise with income. So Alex doesn't feel rich. He feels normal. But here's the quiet problem. Normal does not build wealth. Normal builds consumption. Let's run a small experiment. Imagine Alex continues this lifestyle for the next 10 years. His salary will likely increase, maybe from $92,000 to $120,000 over time. That sounds like significant progress, but something predictable usually happens when income rises. Lifestyle rises with it. Maybe a larger apartment, maybe a newer car, maybe more travel, maybe better restaurants. Not dramatic changes, just small upgrades that feel deserved. Economists sometimes call this lifestyle inflation. But psychologically, it's even simpler than that. Humans adjust their sense of normal very quickly. What once felt luxurious soon feels ordinary. So let's look at the math. If Alex saves $250 per month, that's $3,000 per year. Even if he invests it and earns 7% annually, after 10 years he will have around $41,000. That's not nothing, but it's also not financial freedom, especially after an entire decade of work. Now, compare that to a slightly different version of Alex. Same job, same salary, same city, but one psychological difference. Instead of building his lifestyle around his current income, he builds it around the lower reference point. Let's say Alex intentionally lives like someone earning $65,000 instead of $92,000. Not dramatically different, just slightly smaller choices. Instead of a $2,050 apartment, he chooses a $1,500 apartment. Instead of a financed SUV, he drives a reliable used sedan with no monthly payment. Instead of upgrading everything with each raise, he lets some of that income remain unused. That small shift might free up around $1,300 per month. Now let's do the same math again. $1,300 invested every month at 7% for 10 years becomes roughly $224,000. The income is identical. The intelligence is identical. The difference is purely psychological. One version of Alex tied his lifestyle to income. The other created distance between them. And that gap, that quiet gap between what you earn and what you spend, is where wealth forms. Not in dramatic investment strategies, not in complicated financial tricks, just in that space. But here's where things become interesting. If this idea is so simple, why do so few people follow it? The answer lies in how humans naturally think about status and comparison. We rarely compare ourselves to our past selves. Instead, we compare ourselves to the people around us. Coworkers, friends, neighbors. If everyone in your office drives a new car, driving an older car starts to feel like falling behind, even if it's financially smarter. If your colleagues live in luxury apartments, a modest apartment can start to feel like a downgrade, even if it's perfectly comfortable. This is called relative consumption. People don't measure lifestyle by absolute comfort. They measure it relative to others. And modern financial systems quietly amplify this behavior. Credit cards make spending feel painless. Car loans stretch payments across 6 or 7 years. Mortgage approvals often tell buyers the maximum they can afford, not what would actually be comfortable. And advertising constantly sends one subtle message: you deserve an upgrade. New phone, new car, new experience. None of these things are inherently bad, but when upgrades become an automatic response to income increases, wealth quietly disappears before it ever forms. This is why many high-income professionals reach their 40s with surprising financial anxiety. From the outside, they look successful, but internally, their financial structure is fragile. Large housing payments, car loans, private school tuition, lifestyle commitments that require a constant high income. In other words, they built a life that depends on continuous earning, not a life supported by accumulated assets. Now, compare that to a different type of financial thinker. Someone who views income differently. When they receive a raise, they don't immediately expand their lifestyle. Instead, they expand the gap. They might allow their lifestyle to grow slowly, but not at the same speed as income. Over long periods, that difference becomes enormous, because wealth compounds quietly, month after month, year after year, often without feeling dramatic at all. Consider two professionals starting their careers at 25. Both eventually earn around $100,000 per year. One spends almost everything, the other consistently invests $1,200 per month. After 20 years, assuming a 7% return, the investor ends up with roughly $630,000. Not because of extreme discipline, not because of sacrifice, but because of a simple psychological structure. Income rose, lifestyle rose slowly. Assets rose continuously. What's fascinating is that from the outside, these two people may appear very similar. Same job, same city, same income. But internally, their financial lives feel completely different. One depends on income to maintain lifestyle. The other has gradually built independence from it. And this is why the phrase high income can sometimes be misleading. Income creates potential, but only behavior converts that potential into wealth. Without that conversion, high income simply becomes high spending. So the next time you hear someone say, "If I could just earn a little more, everything would feel easier financially," there's a quiet question worth asking. Would their lifestyle stay the same, or would it expand? Because for most people, income growth doesn't solve financial pressure. It just raises the cost of normal life. Wealth rarely comes from earning dramatically more than everyone else. More often, it comes from structuring life slightly below what your income allows. That small margin creates something powerful over time. Not excitement, not luxury, but financial stability, and eventually, freedom of choice. The irony is that the people who build wealth rarely look dramatically different in daily life. Their cars are slightly older, their homes are slightly smaller, their lifestyle is just a little quieter than their income could support. But beneath the surface, their financial structure is much stronger. Because while others were upgrading lifestyle, they were quietly upgrading their balance sheet. And that's the psychological mistake very few people talk about, confusing income growth with wealth growth. They are related, but they are not the same thing.